Welcome to Westmoreland Community Connections, a look at issues and happenings on Classic Hits 107.1 WHJB. Here now is your host, Chad Amond, President and CEO of the Westmoreland County Chamber of Commerce.
Hello and welcome to Westmoreland Community Connections. I'm your host, President and CEO of the Westmoreland County Chamber of Commerce, Chad Amond. I am excited to have on the show today Christine Mohler-King. She is the Vice President and the Subaru dealer at Sendell Motors. Chris, thanks so much for being on the show.
Thanks for the invitation. It's really exciting to talk to you this morning and see what's going on in the community.
Well, and we interact from time to time. We're the day that we are taping this show is the first day of school for our kids. Our kids go to the same school district, and it's chaos.
It is
sometimes.
a little bit of chaos.
Right.
That's, I think, always the nice thing about the community is that you intersect with people all the time. They always say it's a small town, but it's nothing. This is such a small town. Every day, work-wise, then you see your neighbor, business, socially, it's really, really nice. So yeah, our kids always are hanging out together in school or bumping into each other in places. So yeah, it makes it great.
I always say the family tree in Western Pennsylvania is a wreath.
Yes, that's so true.
Eventually, you're going to connect with somebody
that is very true.
But for the listeners, let's allow them to hear about your background. Where did you grow up? Where did you go to school? And how did you get into Sendell Motors?
So I grew up in Greensburg in Charter Oak, right on Route 30. Went to Latrobe schools. I went to Catholic school in downtown Latrobe and then went to Latrobe Public Schools. Graduated, went to Penn State, moved away for a while, and my grandfather was sick and moved back and started working at the dealership while applying for other jobs because I was certain that I did not want to stay around here.
Oh,
and then I stayed around and really, really liked it.
So where did you move out to?
I lived at State College for a while. I actually worked at a car dealership up there and then moved out to California, just outside of San Francisco for a while, and was just stunned by the cost of living. But Greensburg doesn't sound so bad.
Right. I'm gonna imagine. You know, the chamber is working all the time on the county's comprehensive plan, and we just did a study with the median house cost in San Francisco. The median house cost is $750,000.
It was amazing.
In southwestern Pennsylvania, it's like $140,000. So I think we're going to draw in some of those folks.
Oh, I do. I just remember the first time going out to breakfast there, and this was, late 90s, I guess. Yeah, and breakfast for myself was like $12, and it was a bagel and cream cheese. I remember thinking, oh my gosh, this is so much.
Right.
But yeah, I'm glad I stayed. I'm glad. The more I worked at the dealership, the more I liked it because I loved talking to the people. And I guess I like that connection too, is people that would come in and say, oh, you knew my daughter. And then I would know their parents. I would know their grandparents. And I loved helping like my friends' parents. And they would come in to buy a car, my friends' grandparents. It was really, really, really special to me.
Well, that's why you never burn a bridge in Western Pennsylvania.
No, it's very small.
But I, from what I understand, Sendell Motors is you're part of the fourth generation of family, and to your credit and your brother's. My gosh, that is fantastic because we were just doing we were working with Penn State New Kensington, Chancellor Snyder up in Penn State New Ken, and we were talking about family business succession, and we did a study, and it's third generation business is only 3%.
That's right.
Yeah,
it usually goes to the second generation, and then it's hard to keep that going. I would say my biggest advantage is my partnership with my brother. That has helped out a tremendous amount, is continuing to grow the business.
Yeah.
And when I look back on what my dad had, and I can't imagine how difficult that was to continue to grow, to work in the business, but then to work on your business. And so with my brother and I, we have kind of different skill sets that it's really advantageous for us.
Well, you have to go to and look at that generation before you.
Right.
And I was just talking with your dad, probably, it was on Friday at the Casa golf outing, and he is definitely a tough guy, but a nice guy.
Yeah, he is
And
unbelievably kind.
Yeah.
That's one thing I know whenever I first started in work, is he was always very, very kind. He can have kind of a funny, like he loves to joke around, but if anybody ever asked him for anything, it's without a question. Yeah,
Right.
he was just always very kind, always.
Right. Well, talk about that generational succession planning. The fourth generation. What was it? Would it be
So
your
my
great-grandfather?
great-grandfather,
Right?
yeah, he started selling. He was a distributor. How they had it set up, a distributor for Fords, and there were two other car lines. I can't remember what they were. I know one was Packer. He started in Evansburg and would go from town to town to set up businesses. And I remember one of the car brands just dissolved. So he ends up in Wilkinsburg.
Okay.
And again, starts with another car line, ends up with Ford points in Greensburg. And one of them was in Lysippus that he established, which it's hard to imagine a dealership and a distribution point. But he set up these distribution points. He had a Ford dealership at what they call the Point in downtown Greensburg. And so he would walk into town, and that's where they sold Ford cars and tractors. My grandfather came back, and they were still living in Pittsburgh, commuting back and forth. And then he took over, and they eventually moved to what's currently the U-Haul building.
Okay.
They had Buick and Opel there and LeCar.
So the U-Haul building over by Boston Market.
Right.
Okay.
That was the dealership. And no air conditioning. And that's where my dad came back from Detroit. He had worked at Ford Motor Company. He came back and started working there. Then they moved to what the current location was. Had Buick, Oldsmobile, then Volkswagen, Mitsubishi, and then now Subaru.
Oh, right.
So it's been, and then I came back, I guess late 90s, and my brother, I think early 2000s or so, and then my dad kind of phased out, maybe around 2005, 2006 time frame.
But you're a key leader in the business, and you also serve on the Volkswagen Advisory Board?
I do. It's a regional advisory board, so I represent all the Volkswagen dealers in Pittsburgh. So kind of get involved and know what's going on and have some input. So it's good to do.
So what do you do in that kind of a role? I mean, with the technology changing, are you guys talking about autonomous vehicles and all of that stuff?
They talk about that more on the corporate level. On the advisory board, it's more I represent the Volkswagen dealers in Pittsburgh. So any issues that we're having with vehicle supply, advertising, customer relations, anything like that. So that's kind of like I'm the voice of them.
Oh, okay.
So I think we meet quarterly, so I solicit all their opinions, and then I go to New York and present them with, I think there's 10 of us all along the Northeast region. So it's a good one-on-one conversation with the corporate.
You're listening to Westmoreland Community Connections on Hometown Classic Hits 107.1 WHJB. I'm your host, Chad Amond, president of the Westmoreland County Chamber of Commerce. Our guest today is Chris Mohler-King. She is Subaru dealer and vice president at Sendell Motors. If you want to jump onto Sendell Motors, it's sendellmotors.com, Sendell motors.com, or you can give them a call at 724-837-1600. Chris, one of the things that I, in my role as the chamber president, is that I applaud the family businesses and the large businesses and even the small businesses that are interacting with the community. Some businesses don't do that, but Sendell is fabulous in their interactions with the community. And I understand that you serve on a number of boards, Delphi, Blackburn Center, CASA, which my wife and I try to support. I wish that organization didn't need to exist.
I agree. Most of them, all of them, I wish they didn't need to exist. But typically, especially anything with children.
Well, let's talk about some of the roles that you play. Let's start with Adelphi.
So Delphi, I serve on the Delphi Village, and I'm new
Okay.
to that board. I know Nancy Kukovich well, and so
Yeah.
she had asked me to join. So that I'm still learning about, and that where the campus is, the main campus, is where I went to grade school. So it's
Oh,
kind of
right.
neat to see that is the school that the kids go to. So I got a
Right.
recent tour of that. But big need in Adelphi is huge across the whole state. So
Yeah, right.
it's right now it's more of an educational experience for me. It's learning all about it, but I'm really, really impressed with the work that they do.
But to have your background, understanding business, and all of that stuff, that's a very key thing for having a not-for-profit board.
Right, right.
Right. So you also serve on the board for the Blackburn Center.
Blackburn Center, this is, I think, my third year on the Blackburn board, and we are supporters of the A Walk a Mile in Our Shoes.
Mm-hmm.
And I really, really, really like that board, and again, the work that they do. And I think Ann does amazing work in the community, and I know that the chamber also, that you have supported
Yeah,
them.
we
and
support that organization.
that walk, again, you wish that organization never had to exist, but it's amazing how many people have been impacted by that. And I know, and obviously all of us live in a very nice community, but there are a lot of people that need the services that they provide. So I'm glad that they have it.
And you are a court-appointed support for CASA.
I'm actually on the board. I'm not
Okay.
one of the volunteers. My mom was a volunteer. That's how we found out about the organization. And then my dad served on the board for a little bit, and I'm on the board. And we do a big fundraiser through Subaru at the end of the year, November and December. It's the Share the Love campaign, where Subaru will donate $50 for every car that's purchased.
Right.
And we get to pick a charity. And so
Yeah.
we've always picked, the last couple of years is CASA, and we've raised between $8,000 and $10,000 for them every
That's
year.
the one that's on TV all the
Yes.
time. You're
Yes.
on the
Me with the
commercials. what's the gentleman that's
Mark Bear.
Mark
Yeah.
Bear.
Yeah.
Yeah, you compete.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, hey, in Westmoreland County, if I'm gonna go down and buy a car, I'm gonna go buy it for.
He's such a nice guy.
Yeah.
But we're like, our stores are far enough apart, and he actually was good friends with my dad in business through
Okay.
Buick. And so it was kind of natural. He's just such a character. So
Yeah.
we do those obviously without scripts or anything. So it's always kind of comical what comes out. But
Right.
we had a good time. We're always pretty close too, and how much we raise for the charity. So that's kind of we like doing that.
Yeah, I see you on TV all the time with the commercials. But when we're talking about the CASA organization, explain to the listeners a little bit what CASA does.
So CASA volunteer is the person that speaks on behalf of the child through the foster care system. So they go to the home setting where the child's placed. They see how things are going, how the child is interacting with the adults who are the foster parents, see how the child's maybe doing in school, and then will speak on the child's behalf. So whether the ultimate goal is always reunification with the parent, but to kind of keep progress on how things are going. So if there's visitations, they're there also, and they will see what's going on and how things are going, and then represent the child. Because before that, there's an attorney that represents the parents, and then there's the court system and the state, but there's no one having the voice of the child. And so I've had family experience with foster children, and I mean, there's a huge need for that voice. So.
And we're only halfway through all of the organizations that you are participating in. But we're going to go to break in just a second. You're listening to Westmoreland Community Connections on Hometown Classic Hits 107.1 WHJB. We'll be right back after these messages.
This is Westmoreland Community Connections on Classic Hits 107.1 WHJB. If you have a suggestion for a topic, or if your nonprofit organization would like to be featured on this program, call us during regular business hours at 724-216-1200.
Welcome back. You're listening to Westmoreland Community Connections. I'm your host, Chad Amond, president of the Westmoreland County Chamber of Commerce. I'm delighted today to welcome you back as listeners with Chris Mohler-King. She is the vice president and Subaru dealer at Sendell Motors. If you want to jump on and learn more about Sendell Motors, it's sendellmotors.com, or give them a call at 724-837-1600. Chris, whenever we went to break, we were talking about all of the interactions that you have with our community. Where you're a board member at Adelphi, you sit on the Blackburn Center board, you sit on the board at CASA, the court-appointed special advocates, and Greater Greensburg Faith in Action. You were a former member there as well.
Right. I was on the steering committee for Greater Greensburg Faith in Action, which is a program through the United Way that helps seniors staying at home. I got involved from someone that worked at the United Way, and I served on there for, I think it was 3 years, and chaired the program. Really, really, really great program through United Way, again, for seniors at home. And the reason why I stuck a chord with me is because I know how much my mom and I did whenever my grandmother, we had moved her back to Pennsylvania. And all I could think was, what if someone didn't have friends or family to help look in on them? And so Faith in Action, which now is called, I believe it's Open Your Heart to a Senior, is that they do non-medical assistance. So they'll check the safety of your house to make sure that the railings are in the right place, if you have a smoke detector, or they'll have a companionship call. So some of the seniors will ask if someone calls every day just to check in on them, to say hello and make sure that they're fine, or take them to the grocery store, or take them to a doctor's appointment. So I forget right now how many people that they were serving, but there were 5 different Faith in Actions in Westmoreland County. And like I said, I served on the Greensburg one, but they're all throughout the county. And I just thought really, really great program, and definitely a need with our growing aged population in the county.
Well, I support Faith in Action as well, and it was through dancing. Oh,
that's right. I forgot about that.
I was dancing on for Faith in Action with their annual fundraiser. But you're interacting so much in the community. The Faith in Action is Share Your Heart with a Senior is through the United Way, and also you sit on the Women's Leadership Council as well.
I do, through the United Way. So we have, it meets a couple times a year, and we do donations for Open Your Heart to a Senior. That's the main donations that money is raised for. A great program. We have speakers come in. We have our annual breakfast in October, and a very good friend of mine who has stage 4 colon cancer, has a disabled child, and is a mom of another child, was recently diagnosed with cancer. I think maybe it's been 3 years, and is fighting it, is doing well, but she's going to be the speaker, and all about, kind of having balance in your life, trying to fight and keep going. So they have a good program. It's a nice program in the county, and we get, I think it's about 150 people. So I'm on the breakfast committee for that, and we'll have Stacy Hurt come out and talk to us about it. So nice program.
Well, one of the other things is that you are a supporter of the American Red Cross Gala, and you support the Athena Awards program, which we thank you very much. And you were a nominee this year for the Athena Award, and to your credit, I mean, my goodness, you're just doing so much in the community. And Summer Sounds, you're a supporter of Summer Sounds, and talk about the Banana Split Festival.
Right, the Banana Split Festival just wrapped up this past weekend. We had a lot of fun with that. I like that. I like all the programs. I just think it's important to volunteer in the community that you work. It's to kind of give back. All the people that support you, give back. You want to have a nice, viable community. You want it to be a place that people want to live. So those kind of programs I think are great. Summer Sounds, they get a huge, huge crowd. It's just so exciting to see that many people in Greensburg on a Friday night listening to music. Really fun, and I know it helps the other businesses in town. And then the Banana Split is a whole weekend event, and we sponsored the stage there for the last couple years, and they do a really nice job. Fun time in downtown Latrobe. This year, I think my kids hit that rock wall so many times, and then they had something where there were like minerals that you dig through, like basically dirt. And they had minerals. The kids loved it. And then our stage, we have entertainment all weekend. we try to do a lot of Pittsburgh or local acts, and really talented people. It's amazing. So it was a good weekend. I had fun.
One of the other things that you are a supporter of for Sendell is the Walk for Parks. And that's usually, it's late March.
It is.
And my family always walks in it. And sometimes it's like the kickoff of spring, and sometimes it's the end of winter.
Every time it comes, I'm always like, it seems too cold to be out walking in the park. And we use those parks so much, well, especially Twin Lakes, because it's right over the hill.
Oh, right.
I mean, all of us, we've had birthday parties there. I run over there all the time. I just think, what a great thing to have right so close to us.
We take the puppy over there all the time. Yeah, we just got a new puppy. But I have to ask, and what is the Undie Run in Pittsburgh?
So the Undie Run in Pittsburgh is in support of my friend that has colon cancer. That they have an undie run, and it's underwear, colon cancer, the whole kind of theme. But so we've done that. We did that last year. I'm sure we'll do it again this year. It's kind of a fun event just to raise awareness about colon cancer, because not that that's not known, but there's maybe not discussed as much as some of the other cancers were years ago.
Right,
so.
right. One of the things that Sendell Motors, and we're talking with Chris Mohler-King from Sendell Motors. She is the vice president and the Subaru dealer. If you want to jump on to their website, it's sendellmotors.com. If you want to give them a call, it's 724-837-1600. They sell fabulous cars right along Route 30 across from Red Lobster, if you don't know where their dealership is. What we're talking about, Chris's interaction, not only in the significant interaction with the business community, but her interaction with not-for-profits, the Athena Awards, the Summer Sounds, the Blackburn Center, all of those things that she has making an influence in our community. And one of the things is the partnership with Subaru of America. Chris, talk about the donation of books to elementary schools and things like that you do as well.
So through Subaru, we have a partnership that we have with. We pick a local school. We've done one of the Hempfield middle schools. We've done a couple of the Latrobe schools. We do science books that we donate to the school, and they're all there. I think it's like 1 or 2 classrooms worth of books that we donate. Do it every year, and it's kind of a fundraiser. And then we do school supplies, and I always see if we can get tissues, hand sanitizers, and pencils, because it seems like those are the things the schools always run out in mid-December. So we do that. And then we also do another one that's Subaru Loves Pets, that we do donations. If someone brings in pet food or any kind of toys, we do a percentage off of their service bill or the amount of their car. So just kind of fun fundraisers, and then kind of giving back, and then we'll add to it. And the last couple of years we've done Animal Friends of Westmoreland, so we've taken the donations to them. We do Subaru Loves Learning, Subaru Loves Pets, and then Subaru, I can't think what the heck the other one was. We do a donation to the Arnold Palmer Cancer Center.
Are those the blankets?
We do blankets.
You blankets for the Arnold Palmer Cancer Center?
We donate 50 blankets and then a bunch of care kits for children, crayons, books, and things like that. My sister-in-law works up there, so I get to see her. We don't go in to see the patients because, to me, privacy is just paramount, I would think, if you were going through those kind of treatments. So we donate, and they'll come out and say thanks. But they said that they're very well received because a lot of times I think with the treatment they get cold. So just extra blanket and let people know we're thinking of them.
Well, you're a full-time worker for vice president in the Subaru dealership at Sendell Motors. Do you work 25/8? I mean, I can't imagine it's 24/7, but it has to be 25/8. Yeah. Do you sleep anytime you're running and all that stuff? Talk about your family.
So I have 2 children. I'm married to my husband Ron. I have 2 children, a 6th grader and a 1st grader. We have a dog, Molly, that if you see my parents usually have the dog now because poor Molly's getting very old. Molly I got before I got married, so she's old, needs out a whole lot, and just a sweet, sweet dog. So she gets a lot of care from my parents. But yeah, it's always kind of a tight juggle. My parents help a lot. My husband helps a lot. I mean, my kids are great. I think they're becoming very independent too. I said my daughter, the 6th grader, knows how to do her own laundry because there's certain things that don't always get done as quickly as she likes. So it's taught them a little bit of independence too.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And that's probably one of those things that she's going to be the 5th generation,
right.
Because if she's working hard and doing her laundry in 6th grade, that's a good thing to have. And you're a volunteer at your church as well.
We do volunteer a lot during the festival. Every year I have my kids help out in the children's games. A couple years ago I did the food, and then we moved to children's games once the kids got older. I think we spend as much money on dime pitch as we do. I think it's more expensive actually us volunteering because the kids the whole time want to run away and play dime pitch for hours and hours on end rather than just visiting. But I think it's good to give back. And so I think that's nice. We do we do baked goods, like if they have baking contest. Both of my kids think that they can bake and cook, and so we had this crazy purple cake the last time that was sold, and I had just put a big disclosure on it. A 5-year-old made this, but I made sure that a friend of ours bought it, and he said it was pretty good. So yeah, we do a lot of volunteer work as well.
You're listening to Westmoreland Community Connections on Hometown Classic Hits 107.1 WHJB. We're talking with Chris Mohler-King, Vice President and Subaru dealer at Sendell Motors. If you want to jump on to Sendell Motors, if you're looking for a car, that's a great place to look. It's sendellmotors.com, or you just call them at 724-837-1600. Chris, I want to ask you one of the questions. This is the high level question. What is Sendell Motors most proud of in their impact in the community?
I think really giving back to the community is being able to volunteer and support the community, and also having a nice place to go buy a car. Because for a lot of people, it's an intimidating experience. They don't want to do it. They don't like it. And I love seeing the reviews afterwards about how great all the people were that are at the dealership. That, to me, is the best. I've never worked anywhere at a car. I worked at another car dealership, but they were great people too. So the stereotype I never knew firsthand. So when people say that, I'm always like, really? Like, I expect everybody to have the same experience as they do at our place. I like all the people that work at the dealership. We have between 75 and 80 people, and I want to make sure everyone that comes in the door is treated like one of my neighbors, that I want them to feel welcome. So from what I hear from people, I think we do a good job at that, and I'm really, really proud of that, and also proud of our work in the community.
Well, you need to be proud. Sendell Motors is a great business, and you're making the impact on the community with the sponsorships and the advocacy for the Blackburn Center and CASA and the Greensburg Faith in Action. All of those organizations, they couldn't happen without business leaders like you. So thank you very much, and we tip our cap to you, your brother, and the other generations before you that helped to build this business. Do you have any last comments that you want to share with the listeners? Any events or any maybe sales or anything like that is happening at Sendell?
No, I think we have a couple events coming up. We're supporting Greensburg. I guess they have Craft Brew Week, so we're going to be one of the supporters for that.
Right. We are a sponsor of Craft Beer Week in Greensburg as well.
I think that's great. All the downtown projects, I'm really excited for that. So we have that, and then just our normal sales events that go on, and then we'll do the Share the Love campaign in support of CASA again at the end of the year. So looking forward to fall.
Well, very good. Thank you very much. Chris Mohler-King is the Vice President and Subaru dealer at Sendell Motors. If you want to jump on to their website, sendellmotors.com or 724-837-1600. You've been listening to Westmoreland Community Connections on Hometown Classic Hits 107.1 WHJB. Join us next week, same time, same place, for another edition of Westmoreland Community Connections. Thanks for listening, everyone.
This has been Westmoreland Community Connections, a look at issues and happenings in and around Westmoreland County. Join us again next week on Classic Hits 107.1 WHJB.